There are two ways to make it big in the wrestling world. The first is to put in the work. Stand out from the crowd, offer something unique, and maybe, just maybe, get noticed by a major wrestling company. The second is to have a famous dad. Wrestling has always been a family business. Dating right back to the old days, family connections were always the backbone to the wrestling industry, and that's why so many wrestlers' kids eventually end up in the squared circle themselves. Nepotism is pretty much ingrained in the fabric of wrestling. Even today, nepotism is rife in WWE, and while you probably know a few of the superstars who only got into the industry because of their parents, some of the names on this list might surprise you. In this video, we're looking at the top 10 WWE wrestlers who were total Nepo babies, starting with number 10, Dominic Mysterio. Dominic Mysterio is the perfect example of a Nepo baby. His dad, the legendary Lucha Libre Rey Mysterio, recently claimed that he only re-signed with WWE in 2021 to keep his son's career prospects high. In recent years, Rey had worked for a number of promotions including New Japan and Lucha Underground, but he knew his son would have the best chance of succeeding in the WWE system. Another reason Dominic is the ultimate Nepo baby is because, if we're being honest, he wasn't the best in-ring worker when he first started out, nor was he a very good promo. He was kinda bad at everything, but he still got shot straight to TV without needing to go through the developmental system. Thankfully, Dom's found his footing with his new gimmick, and he's actually pretty entertaining, so it all worked out well in the end. Number 9, Charlotte Flair. The Flair name has a lot of history attached to it. Outside of the Harts and the Rhodes, it might be the most prestigious name in wrestling history, and that's all thanks to the man at the top, Ric Flair. 3 of Ric Flair's 4 children have made the jump into the wrestling world, but 2 of them had pretty forgettable runs, especially David Flair, who the less said about, the better. But Charlotte Flair, even considering she had a pretty easy path to the top, has done well for herself. She's managed to carry the Flair name with pride, even if she is shoved down our throats at every opportunity. Charlotte's a good example of a Nepo baby that's taken the ball and run with it, even though WWE commentary can't stop reminding us who her father is at every opportunity. Number 8, Cody Rhodes. If you've heard literally any promo from Cody Rhodes in the last few years, you'll know he's Dusty Rhodes' son. We love the guy, but he can't go 5 minutes without mentioning his wrestling heritage. It's understandable because it's not as though his dad was just some random wrestler. Dusty Rhodes was one of the most influential figures in the entire industry and remained so right until his untimely death in 2015. No one can deny Cody Rhodes has worked hard to get where he's at. He looks good, he's an elite wrestler, and he has one of the best promos in the game today. But of course, he was bred for success right from the beginning. By the time Cody got his start in the industry, his dad was a legend and his brother Goldust was a veteran, so the path was already carved out for him. It might be a little frustrating for Cody's peers because tons of guys can do what he does, but when it comes down to it, Cody's the kind of Nepo baby that's good for the wrestling world. He learned from the best and took their advice to heart, which is why we're glued to our screens whenever he comes on. Number 7, Natalya. The Hart Dynasty's link to professional wrestling dates back to 1948, just 3 years after World War II, making them one of the longest running families in the industry today. Right now, there's only one direct descendant from Stu Hart that's still active, and that's Natalya. She might actually be the last ever descendant of the legendary owner of the Hart Dungeon, and not a lot of people know she's actually been an active professional wrestler for a staggering 23 years. We can't deny that Natalya gets a lot of crap from fans. She's not the best wrestler in the women's division, and she's not the worst. She's perfect mid-card material, and chances are she's only been employed by WWE for the last 16 years because of her heritage. You'd think that a wrestler with all of Natalya's resources would be a more prominent feature on WWE television, but it seems she's destined to stay in forgettable roles, at least for the foreseeable future. Interestingly, Natalya's father, Jim the Anvil Neihart, was another product of nepotism. Not the most gifted member of the Hart family, Jim's stepfather, Stu, would occasionally call up Vince McMahon and ask him if he had any roster spots for Jim, and more often than not, McMahon would oblige. The nepotism connection runs deep with the Hart dynasty. Number 6, Nia Jax. To the surprise of absolutely no one, Nia Jax only got brought into the WWE because of her family lineage. She's a total Nepo baby from the Samoan wrestling family, and she's living proof that it doesn't matter how much you struggle at nearly every aspect of professional wrestling, you can still get a job if your cousin is The Rock. Despite this fact having never been mentioned on WWE TV, most fans know about Nia's family connections. She gets a ton of crap from fans for being sloppy and unsafe in the ring, and her track record of injuring her peers speaks for itself. She's also just a pretty bad wrestler in general, especially when you consider that all the other Samoans on the roster are either a major star or incredible in the ring. Nia denies the nepotism connection, claiming that she's had to forge her own path in WWE. But we know WWE would bend over backwards to have anything related to The Rock on their show, so we'll have to take Nia's comments with a grain of salt. Number 5, Randy Orton. In 1999, Randy Orton was working in a gas station after being dishonorably discharged from the Marines. He made one phone call to his father, the great cowboy Bob Orton, and told him he wanted to become a professional wrestler. Less than a year later, Randy Orton had signed with the WWE. A lot of people know that Randy Orton has a famous father, but his connections actually go a little deeper. His grandfather, Bob Orton Sr., was a huge name in the industry too, and his uncle, Barry Orton, wrestled for the WWF throughout the mid-80s and early 90s. Orton had a real easy path to WWE, but to give him his credit, he had a natural charisma about him right from day one. Only a few years into his career, and the Legend Killer had become the youngest WWE champion in history at just 24 years old. Orton was a Nepo baby of the highest order, but he's since earned his spot at the top. Number 4, Roman Reigns. There was a rumor that for as long as Vince McMahon was in charge of WWE, he had an agreement to keep a Samoan wrestler near the top of the pile. From Yokozuna to The Rock to Umaga to the Usos, there's always been a heavy Samoan presence in the WWE. And of course, we can't talk about this legendary wrestling lineage without talking about the Tribal Chief. His main roster debut in 2012, Roman Reigns was always positioned to be a top guy in the company. It's understandable after all. The guy is handsome, jacked, and knew his way around the wrestling ring. But of course, we all remember Roman's controversial rise to the top, constantly being pushed down our throats at the behest of what the fans wanted. We've heard loud boos and chants of "We want refunds" during main event Roman matches, and it was all amplified due to Roman's built-in position at the top given his family connections. Thankfully, WWE has since embraced the Roman hate and transformed him into the most compelling character on television. They've even leaned into the whole nepotism thing with the bloodline storyline, so the whole thing has really come full circle in the end. Number 3, Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt might not be the first name you think of when it comes to nepotism, but the guy definitely used his connections to get his foot in the door. Bray's father is the famous Mike Rotunda, better known as Erwin R. Shyster, and one half of the much-loved Money Incorporated tag team with Ted DiBiase. Not only that, but Bray's grandfather and uncles were all members of the Windham family of wrestlers. But Bray's a different kind of Nepo baby because his connections to these veteran superstars have never once been mentioned on WWE television. Mike Rotunda has made sporadic appearances for the WWE over the years, but he has never shared the spotlight with his son or even interacted with him on screen. As far as wrestling lore is concerned, Bray Wyatt is very much his own entity. Bray is one of the few Nepo babies that has never really used his family name to connect with the fans, despite his dad being one of the most memorable heels of the early 90s. Additionally, Bray Wyatt's characters have always been the complete opposite of his father's. Just another reason not many people know about Bray's connections. Number 2, Shane McMahon. Nepo babies are usually sneered at by fans because they're always fast-tracked to television, but there are some Nepo babies who have certainly earned their place on the card. Shane McMahon, the son of a billionaire, could have done anything he wanted in life, but the man chose to put himself through hell for our entertainment, and we have to respect that. Shane could have taken a cushy backstage job and made his millions that way. He could have had nothing to do with wrestling at all, but from the moment he appeared on our screens in 1998, he embraced his roots and became the annoying little rich kid character that we all love to hate. Shane's crazy stunts are well documented, and the man has taken nearly as many high-risk bumps as Mick Foley. He's been thrown off stages, jumped off of cages, and been suplexed through panes of glass, none of which he had to do, but he did so to earn the respect of the fans and his peers. Nepotism certainly got him to the top of the ladder, but his passion for wrestling made him jump off of it. Number 1, The Rock. Dwayne Johnson was always destined for greatness. He had the magical combination of charisma, good looks, and good connections, and he's certainly earned his place as one of the all-time greats of wrestling. But while The Rock is always quick to tell people how at one point he only had $7 in his pocket before beginning his wrestling career, The Rock was the son of former WWF Tag Team Champion and NWA legend Rocky Johnson. His grandfather, Peter Maivia, was also a major star in the WWF in the 70s and 80s. The Rock got his chance at WWE through his family connections, and the result was the Rocky Maivia character we saw for the first few years of his career. But then The Rock came into his own and evolved into the character we know and love today. While second and third generation stars definitely have the advantage over their peers, it takes a ton of hard work to become a wrestling legend and a Hollywood megastar, both of which The Rock has done. That concludes our list of the 10 most famous wrestlers who were total Nepo babies. Did we miss anyone? Are there any other superstars who only got chances because of their family connections? Let us know in the comments down below.